When I say expensive, I mean relatively. Like a $20 cheeseburger is expensive compared to most cheeseburgers. A $20 ribeye is relatively cheap. A $20 cow is a scam. In this video, I'm talking about things that are expensive for what they are, even though some of them don't cost a ton of money. For example, this deodorant, it's Jack Black Pit Boss, and it costs about $22 a stick. That's a lot for deodorant, but it lasts a long time, it smells great, and I've found that it does a good job controlling sweat without any irritation compared to cheaper antiperspirants. That's why it's the only deodorant that I've used for the past couple of years. Sticking with personal care for a minute, you know it's also worth the money? High quality SPF moisturizer. I've tried a bunch of these and I'll link to my favorite options below in the description, but in my experience, the really good stuff can be like 20 or 30 bucks a tube. It's pricey, but it's much better than using cheap sunscreen on your face, or worse, not using any SPF protection at all. These higher end SPF moisturizers go on like lotion, and they usually contain some anti-aging ingredients as well. Once you upgrade, it's hard to go back. Okay, let's move on to menswear and accessories, starting with watches. I've owned a few luxury tier watches in my day, and I haven't regretted any of them. Don't get me wrong, I like affordable watches too. The only time I've regretted buying a watch is when it was a compromise. When I settled for a watch knowing it wasn't really the one I wanted, usually due to budget or availability. I think it's better to save up for the watch that you actually want. That way you'll be delighted every single time you look down at your wrist. Like these new Tangente 38 dates from one of my favorite watch brands, Nomos Glashütte. And a quick side note, this limited edition is sold out online, but you can still find it at select retailers. So go to Nomos' website and use the retailer locator to find one near you. Now I've worn several Nomos watches over the years, and one thing I really love about this brand is their use of color. These special edition Tangentes were created to celebrate 175 years of watchmaking in Glashütte. Each of the 31 different colorways is limited to just 175 pieces. So if you like one, don't sleep on it, and again, you can find these at select retailers. 31 colors for 31 days of the month, 31 different moods and personalities. All of them are technically impressive. They're powered by the in-house DUW 4101 mechanical movement, and you can watch this impossibly thin movement in action as you wind it up by hand through the sapphire crystal glass back. I've always loved watches with date windows. I think it's such a practical complication. I use it all the time. But the thing is, sometimes they can throw off a watch's balance. This 6 o'clock date window is perfectly placed to maintain symmetry. And all the date windows are perfectly matched with the color composition of the dial. The second-hand sub-dial can be a subtle or bold detail depending on which color composition you choose. I got my hands or wrists on 3 different colors: Peace, Bubblegum, and Tiefseegrau. I'm definitely not pronouncing that correctly. Apologies to any German viewers. Peace features bright complementary shades of blue and an almost vermilion orange. The dial is squeaky clean and highly legible. Bubblegum has a dusty pink dial with a golden yellow subdial and a silver white date window. I'd never really considered buying a pink watch, but not gonna lie, this one has me thinking. And finally, inspired by deep sea creatures, Tiefseegrau has a muted black dial and a pink minute ring. I love the cream colored indices and typography and the way that the date window just blends in with the dial. This is probably my favorite of the 3, but I would happily wear any of these. If you want to see all 31 colors, go to nomos-glashütte.com or check the link below in the description. And huge thank you again to Nomos for their continued support. Okay, moving on to footwear. Here's another expensive purchase that was worth the money: the New Balance 990 V6. These made in the USA sneakers are from the brand's flagship collection. They're more than twice as expensive as the entry-level New Balance models you can find at Dick's Sporting Goods, like the 574s. And at $200, they are expensive for sneakers. I mean, you can't get these resold. After you wear them out in a year or 18 months, they're done. And they're not hyped. You can't sell these for a profit on eBay. They're expensive because of the materials and the construction and the fact that they're made in the US. But they're well engineered. They have a ton of R&D behind them. And if you test these side by side with something like the 574s, it's no competition. I mean, the 990s are better in every way, and I actually think they look a little better. They're more supportive, more stable, more durable, and I think they look a bit more interesting. And by the way, every sneaker brand has their flagship models. So Asics, Nike, Adidas, Saucony, They all have their cheap entry-level stuff that's like, $50 to $100. Then they have like their $140 to $200, and I think it's worth the upgrade. Speaking of comfort, if you want to make the shoes you already own more comfortable, consider orthotic insoles. These come in all different shapes and sizes and levels of support depending on what you need. The really good ones can cost like $50 to $70. And I know what you're thinking, couldn't I just buy new shoes? And I get that, but the thing is you can use one pair of insoles in all of your shoes, so they do go a long way. And if you're dealing with like arch pain or plantar fasciitis or something like that, I think it's worth spending the money. My personal favorites right now are these Superfeet medium cushion arch support insoles. They're much softer than your standard Superfeet insoles, but you should definitely go to a store and just try on a bunch of them and, talk to an expert, see what works for you. Premium swim trunks. For years, all I wore were these Orlebar Brown Bulldog Sport swim trunks. At full retail, they're $300. I still think they're some of the best swim shorts ever made, but you can spend a lot less than that and still get a high quality pair. I have trunks from Chubbies and Bird Dogs, which both cost around $70, and they're both fantastic. Sure, $70 is a lot of money when you can spend $15 at H&M and get a pair of trunks, but if you try them on side by side, the difference looks and feels obvious. So I say this summer, don't settle for cheap, fast fashion swim trunks. Spend a little bit more and get something that'll last you a few seasons. Progress Jiu-Jitsu shorts. Now, I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and before you think, wow, this guy is cool, just know that I've been a blue belt, which is one step above white belt, for like 5 years, and I only train a couple times a week. I'm not a natural, I'm very much a hobbyist. So you're not gonna get any advice about jiu-jitsu from me, but man, do I love this sport. It's so much fun, it's a great workout. You're supposed to wear special shorts for grappling, ones that don't have any pockets or zippers. For a long time, I bought cheap grappling shorts just off of Amazon. One of my training partners tipped me off on this brand called Progress. Thank you, Cam. And I've been buying their $50 Academy hybrid shorts for a while now, which are the most comfortable and durable jiu-jitsu shorts that I've tried. I've tried other brands that are supposedly even better, but these just fit me really well. A lot of grappling or MMA shorts are very long and baggy and just have these garish designs, but these Progress shorts are nice and fitted without being too tight, and I like this simple design. Totally worth the money. Now, I did try their shirts too, but I actually prefer a different brand. Hayabusa. I love their rash guards, and specifically their long sleeve rash guards. My favorite is their Geo long sleeve rash guard in black. Very tasteful design without being boring. It fits me really well. It's tight, but not super tight. And I found that these can take abuse better than other brands, which is good because I take a lot of abuse on the mats. Unless I'm rolling with Bobby, then it's barely even a workout. Allen Edmonds Park Avenue. These were actually a Christmas gift from my parents like 15 years ago when I was working in entry-level office jobs after college. My dad always wore Allen Edmonds, and these were my first pair of like nice dress shoes. I wore them a lot over the years. They've always been comfortable, they've aged nicely despite my neglect. I've never had them refinished or resold. I don't know if Allen Edmonds still makes them like this, but there are plenty of brands that do. I don't think most guys need many pairs of dress shoes. My advice would be to get one really good pair that's Goodyear welted or Blake stitched, full grain leather, something that can be resold and that will get better with use. You'll actually save money in the long run. Prescription sunglasses. These actually are not prescription, but I have had prescription sunglasses in the past. I just lost one pair and then I broke the other one, so I don't have any right now, but I'm gonna buy more because they're totally worth the money. The thing is, where I live, it's just very sunny. I wear sunglasses way more than I wear regular glasses. And even though I have a mild prescription, for me, it's worth it to have corrective lenses in my sunglasses. Every time I get a new pair, it's like seeing the world in HD for the first time. Again, not prescription, but you get the point. I need a new pair, so if you have any brand suggestions, other than like Warby Parker, let me know. Last up in the clothing category, alterations. I'm a huge proponent of getting your clothes tailored so they fit the way you want them to. But every time I suggest tailoring, I always get comments complaining about how it's too expensive. And I get not wanting to spend extra money on clothes that you already bought. But that $60 you spent on those jeans is a sunk cost. So you could either never wear them, in which case you've wasted the $60, or you could spend an extra $10, $15 to get them hemmed, and then they're your new favorite jeans, you wear them all the time. I've spent thousands of dollars on alterations over the years, and I don't regret a single penny of it. I'm telling you, if you've never gone to a tailor, it's a game changer. Just trust me on this one. Okay, moving on to office and studio gear. So basically the stuff I use to work and run this channel. First up, good lighting. You don't need dedicated or professional lights to start a YouTube channel or grow your TikTok following. Natural light works if you have enough of it, but it can be too dim, too harsh, or just too unpredictable. An on-demand source of continuous light that's temperature controlled makes things much easier. Every time I upgrade my lighting, it feels expensive, but I always wish I did it sooner. I currently use a light from Amaran and another one from Godox, each with a different type of diffuser, and I love them both. I'd say they're about equal quality. Neither one of them is like entry level, but they're also not crazy expensive, very much like prosumer grade. Oh, and don't skimp on the stands. Cheap stands are just horrible to work with, kind of like cheap tripods. This is very much a buy once, cry once category. A standing desk. I got this bamboo motorized standing desk probably like 6 or 7 years ago, and at the time it felt like a huge purchase. But it's held up really well and it doesn't show any signs of aging. I've moved this desk from Arizona to New York and then down to Virginia. I'm back to Arizona, kind of attached to it at this point. And of course, it's really nice to be able to switch between sitting and standing. A high quality office chair. When I am sitting down, I use this Steelcase Amiya. Amiya? Let's go with Amiya. Before I got this, I used a cheap chair from Staples, and man, what a difference a good chair makes. One big difference is just how adjustable this chair is. Higher end and more expensive office chairs have way more adjustability, everything from lumbar support to the tilt of the armrests. If you sit a lot, I think a good chair is worth the price. At this point, I couldn't go back to something cheap. AirPods. I think this is the best product that Apple has come out with in years, and the Pro version is definitely worth the upgrade. I mean, just for the noise cancellation and the transparency mode alone, I think they're worth the extra money. I listen to several hours of audiobooks each week, mostly when I'm like doing dishes or carrying around a baby. I also wear these in meetings and Zoom calls. I use them all the time, and unlike my old version 1 AirPods, the battery life on these has held up. I don't see any degradation, at least not yet. I know there are other wireless earbuds that probably have better audio quality, but were they designed by Apple in California? I didn't think so. AirPods Pro. Speaking of Apple fanboyism, another expensive product that was worth every penny was my MacBook Pro 14-inch M1. I was slightly disappointed with my previous MacBook Pro, which was the 13-inch version with the Touch Bar. Touch Bar was totally worthless. But this M1 has pretty much restored my faith. It's not perfect, I've experienced some glitches, but for the most part it handles whatever I throw at it, including editing large 4K video files and using programs like Final Cut, Logic, and Photoshop often at the same time. It was an expensive machine at over $3,000, but honestly, my only regret is not spending a little more to max out the storage. I always think it's gonna be enough hard drive space. Like I had 1 terabyte with my last laptop, I got 2 in this one, and guess what? I need 4. Next time, I'm speccing it out, take my money, Apple. And last up in the studio category is my most recent kind of expensive purchase. It's this Roland TD27 KV2 electronic drum kit. This is really one of the only like toys that I've ever bought. It's not top of the line, you can spend more on e-drums, but it's a nice kit and it does feature some best-in-class components like Roland's digital snare drum. I've been having a lot of fun with this kit. I want to play more once I have a little more time in the future, but even just playing a little bit each week has been really fun. By the way, you can check out @BrockPlaysDrums if you want to see me playing and hear how this kit sounds. Moving on, let's talk about some expensive purchases that were worth the money for the home. First up, a vacuum. This LG Cord Zero was an upgrade from a cheaper cordless vacuum that we were using. There's a night and day difference in the build quality and the power. I was gonna buy a Dyson, but after researching it, it seemed like this LG was a little bit better on hard surfaces, which is what we mostly have. And it came with an extra battery, which is nice because these cordless vacuums really drain the battery pretty quickly. I'm sure Dysons are fantastic too, people seem to love them. But either way, it's nice to have a high quality cordless vacuum in the house. I can even detach the long part and then use this bad boy to clean stale Cheerios out of my car. Next up, a king size hybrid mattress. After sleeping on a queen size all foam mattress, this hybrid king is definitely an upgrade. It wasn't cheap, but anything that can improve your sleep is worth the price, in my opinion. I really like these hybrid mattresses, which are basically like the old school spring mattresses, just with a layer of foam or sometimes latex on top. But unlike the all foam mattresses, these just don't trap heat. The larger size also helps reduce overheating, and from what I hear, it's a must as your kids get older and start sneaking into bed. Last up, this Weber Genesis grill. My last grill before this one was a cheap one from Next Grill. It wasn't terrible, it just didn't age very well and it became very uneven. In comparison, this Weber feels like an actual tank. It heats up incredibly fast and the cooktop is totally even. Plus, Weber supposedly has one of the best warranties in the business. If I take care of this grill and replace parts as needed, it should last 15-20 years or longer. So that's my list. I would love to hear from you. What's something that you bought recently or anytime that felt expensive but that you don't regret? Let me know down in the comment section. Thank you again to my friends at Nomos Glashuta for supporting this video. Please go check them out at nomos-glashuta.com or just check the links down in the description. Thank you as always for watching, and until next time, stay stylish.